Check, check, check. Okay. Working now. Working, working, working. Working now. Delay. Working, working, working. Working now. Delay. Working, working. Fiddlesticks. Okay. Well, 1:59. It's getting close to being time to start. According to, if this is correct, there's 4 concurrent viewers. I don't know if that includes me. It may include, I have it open on my iPad to see if it works, but I think I'm just going to shut that down because I think I should be able to see the chat anyways. All right. I do not have the fastest internet in the world, which is Well, one of the reasons why I don't include a video feed, two, you don't really need to see me. You don't want to see me. Oh, the bird on our clock just sounded 2 o'clock, so I am going to begin. Thanks for joining me, either live or whenever you watch this. Very quickly, who am I? I've been writing for many, maybe not many decades, but a long time. I've written a lot of spec scripts. In the early 2000s, I decided if I was ever going to say I was a movie maker, I'd have to make movies. So over the course of the next 10 years, I wrote, produced, and directed 3 of my own scripts, very low budget, all volunteer stuff. Are they the greatest movies ever? No. Is one of them available on Amazon or Amazon Prime? Yes. Thanks for asking. Look for The Key and put in my name, and hopefully you'll find it. If you do, and you can watch it for free or 99 cents, look at how much of a movie you can make for about $1,500, most of which was the expense of the camera. But I super, super highly recommend making your own movie, whether it's a feature or a short or something in between. You learn a ton about writing, about why screenplays are so important, and about every other aspect of filmmaking. That is my advice. Now on to the script. A quick disclaimer is that, and I don't mean to, I hope this doesn't sound arrogant or whatever, but I'll read a script as long as I am enjoying it and think it has promise. If I run into tons of formatting errors or typos or something like that, unless the story is super gripping, I'll probably stop and move on to another one. I never expect that and I never want that, but it happens. This past week I read a script, just not on live stream, and it was so good. It wasn't great, but it was very good, and it had a lot of little mistakes, but I just powered on through and glad I did. So that's what I'll say. I'm a very persnickety when it comes to formatting, when it comes to typos, grammar, and that sort of thing. And the reason why is because my experience from the people who have read my scripts professionally and otherwise is that you can't give them any reason not to just keep reading. And a typo or a whole bunch of capitalization can really slow them down. And frankly, some people will use any excuse to stop reading your script and move on to the next script in their pile if they're at a studio or if they're an agency or whatever. So don't give them any reason to slow down. Give them a reason to turn the page. They're called page turners for a reason. All right, so I'm going to go. I don't read everything out loud because my voice couldn't last, but hopefully you'll get the gist and obviously you'll be able to follow along. All right, Inertia, written by Dan Tonkin. I love the title. Very intriguing. I don't like that this isn't centered on the page. Very small thing. And I have not written this script. I've not read any of the script. It's coming to me brand new, which is actually kind of exciting. So here we go. David's Car Night. David Bishop, late 40s. 40 should not be hyphenated, I'm pretty sure. Oh. All right, so, gosh, I just don't like to do this, but it should say David sits next to his wife. I don't know why this is in past tense. Okay, interior. All right, passive voice is a no-no. I learned that way long ago. Make it active. David wears a lab coat. Handling, maybe a comma here. Handling a test tube. Variation. This should probably be various. Among various different colored vials and chemicals. Faint thunder. Maybe capitalized thunder, since it would be a sound effect that is not germane to the scene. In other words, it's got to be affected later. Failed tests. So I assume the screen here would be something such that we know that these are failed tests. I assume he's working at a computer instead of next to it, like by. A desk is resting close to where David is working with mixed scribbles. I guess David is doing the mixed scribbles and not the desk. A little bit confusing. It's a long sentence right here. His hand cups both of hers and looks up. Looks up to notice the car with the lights pulled up on the side of the road. So this is obviously cutting back and forth, I assume. It might say, well, it wouldn't really be intercut because it's the same person. So he's got some sort of a syringe, but he's squeezing it. So I'm thinking he's got something with a rubber bulb on it, which isn't very scientific, but that's fine. Inserts them into an analysis apparatus with microscope. Can he just put them down on his microscope? Simplify when possible. Walks over to the stopped car. Looks up to notice a car. So, okay, so he stopped. A thuggish demeanor. All right. Here's another case of a passive sentence. So, whenever possible, get rid of R's and is's. Rearrange your sentences. It's a small thing, but it helps a lot. Talking in some strain of slang. So they're talking, but we can't hear them, or we don't know what they're saying. Do we need to have a little dialogue there or not? The driver's capitalized, so he's going to be a character, but the other three are not capitalized, inferring they're not really going to play any part in this. So he's looking at a microscope, but there's a telescopic lens. I don't know. Maybe leave out, unless it's some super important thing. Because he wouldn't be looking through a microscopic lens, probably. He just looks into the, I would say he looks in the microphone at a chemical reaction is visible. We don't need to see that. If it's not visible, you know, it's not, it doesn't need to be say it's visible because it's obvious from the writing. All right, this seems to be a little maybe overwritten. It seems like it calls for some overacting there. Okay, bonnet. So I'm guessing that our writer is maybe British, English, European, something. Of the driver's car. So this is the driver that stopped and smiled. The driver offers his hand. Now, if the driver isn't going to have a name, this should at least be capitalized. The word driver. Other occupants. Mind how you go and maybe tell those guys, unless they've got a prescription on stuff, they should take it indoors. Well, if they're in the car, they are indoors, so strictly speaking, that isn't 100% accurate. Okay. The purpose of this part of the scene, this busy road with his wife asleep and then stopping, is unclear, but we're only on page 2, so that's okay. Into the computer sat on top. A computer that's sitting on the desk, I guess. Dons an expression. Maybe David holds up a cork test tube filled with blue liquid, looking concerned, looking worried, looking nervous, something. Donning an expression of worry is sort of a novelish way of writing, as in writing a novel. This is, he turns to look at a photo of himself and Holly, he and his wife. This could be written much quicker than that. In her sleep. So even though she's sleeping, she turns her head to Davis. In her sleep almost makes it sound like it's a dream. Maybe not. Pulls the car back onto the main road as he turns to brush. I wonder why he likes to brush her face and touch her. Start to open. Her eyes shoot open. So they start to open, but then they shoot open. Her body bolts upward, turning David's attention to see an oncoming truck headed straight toward them. Well, if it's oncoming, it's headed toward them. So I would just leave this out. Sees a truck headed straight for them. Tries to cover Holly. That could be in vain. Airbag is probably going to do more. Tries to cover Holly. The truck collides with David's car, hurtling it back in circles onto the side of the road and down into a moor. I don't know if his car's going, well, I guess it depends how fast it's going when this happens. This doesn't feel like it would, maybe it's spinning it around. Hurtling it back in circles. All right, maybe that's spinning around. Sorry. Several cuts and scratches. If this, maybe the truck was only going 20 or 30 miles an hour, it feels like his car would be literally totaled. This makes it sound like his eyes are dizzy and disoriented as opposed to he is. Again, this could probably be said quicker. No hyphen. I'm not making many notes here. Sorry about that. I don't know why he sees with an apostrophe or apostrophe. Apostrophe. I can't even spell. Oh my gosh. Apostrophe. That's still wrong, probably. So the car is destroyed, hung upside down. What is it hanging on? Is it in a tree? No, it can't be in a tree. There are traces of blood. She is lifeless. So there's traces of blood. The windscreen is fractured. It's not broken. Yet the car is hung upside down. This seems like it would just be totally smashed. He fears the worst. I think this goes without saying. He rests free of his seat belt. If the car is upside down, he's hanging in his seat belt, so he's got to take it off, and then when that happens, he's going to fall. He's basically laying, I don't know, he's going to fall into the roof, I guess. Yeah, I would just get rid of he fears the worst, because that's obvious. Seatbelt releases him, and he plummets awkwardly. Roaring out in pain, plummets awkwardly. If he's in a car, pinned to his seatbelt. He releases it. He falls onto the roof, which is maybe a foot. He wouldn't really plummet. That's not, I think plummet's got to be a lot farther than that. So he hits and he cries out from his injuries. Pretty much all of this, in my opinion, one man's opinion, could be shortened. A lot of this just feels like it's overwritten. Again, thinking not in terms of a novel, but in terms of what we're seeing on the screen. So he opens the door, immediately hit by the hard rain. The door or him? Hearing the faint sound of approaching silence, he scrambled the walkway around Holly's. This is a long sentence right here. I would break that up into 2 sentences and make them both pretty short. Because you imagine this is just happening boom, boom, boom on the screen. Opens Holly's door. Wrestles with her seatbelt to free her. Her eyes closed, her face bloodied. Holly, open your eyes. That's obviously not supposed to be funny, but I don't know that she would purposely have her eyes closed just to, prank him if she was alive. She collapses from the seat. David catches her as she collapses from the seat he frees her from. The seat belt, I guess. Just a little awkward there. He pulls her free into a lit spot. Into a pool of light formed by the car's headlights. So he's got to... It seems unlikely to me that a car that was just got rammed by a truck would have operating headlights. Let alone he would have to drag her around or carry her around to the front of the car. So I don't know that maybe there's some other lights to make this part not necessary. That seems a little bit of a stretch. She's dead. No, that's too bad. He should have probably, I don't know why he didn't do that in the car. Maybe he just wanted to get her out. The sirens, this is off screen. I'm not super big on capitalizing sound effects that are in the scene and apparent, like a door closes. You don't need a capital CLOSE, but sirens I would capitalize there. Become visible. This is kind of a overwritten. As they become visible, there's probably a more concise way to write this. Like noticeably louder is probably not is not really necessary. So he doesn't. She's on the ground, tries to pick her up. He fails. We don't know. Fails because of his injuries. His injuries prevent him from picking her up. Screams are subdued by the force of his tears. All right, so he's yelling help, but this is more or less reaction because he's in shock or something. So he finally picks her up. The emergency vehicles, we don't know if there's people. Have they arrived? Are they still on their way? There's no people getting out of them yet. If he knows that she's dead or strongly suspects, is he saying help me as in I'm hurt, or help me, my wife may or may not be dead? That's not extremely clear to me. Sound of the sirens. The sound, I would cut out just the sirens and David's screaming intensify. So we don't need the sound of the sirens. Yeah, it's very, it's written well as a novel, maybe not so much as a screenplay. Fade out is all you need here. Fade in, did you start the script with a fade in? Let's see, I can't remember. Typically, no. When I write, and I'm no expert, I start with a fade in and I end with a fade out. You can certainly have fades in the middle of the script, but fade to black is pretty much saying the movie is over. So I would just say fade to this dream sequence. Do we know it's a dream sequence? I guess you're telling the person reading the script that. We don't know. I mean, as opposed to a flashback. At this point, we don't know. It's a warm, peaceful sight. So this is a passive sentence. That doesn't really tell us too much. The sun rises from afar, not to be glib, but as opposed to near. So the sun rises, that's all you need. So it's on a bench. So they're on a bench on a beach. A clear sky. So another passive sentence. Just all you have to say here is silence between them as they watch the sunrise. Maybe, unless they're pointed away from it. You know, this is just me. This is a continuation. I would not capitalize D for death there. You know, it's all the same sentence. That's an interesting way to start a conversation. So if he smiles to himself, does that mean she doesn't see it? Can we just say he smiles? Sorry, can you just say, I will find you again, Holly. I'm getting so close now. So he's dreaming post. Okay, I get it. Sorry, I'm getting it now. He's dreaming knowing that she's dead and turns to him looking hopefully. We'll have it all back, I promise. This should be apostrophe there. It is only a matter of time. There should be a comma right here. Back, I promise. The conversation falls out for a moment. I would cut out for a moment. That way you don't have to have this orphan word on the second line. When you... To me, and this is just my convention, ... is like trailing off, like falling off into thought, as opposed to ... which is being cut off. So if she stops herself, you could use the dash, but you wouldn't necessarily need to say that because it would be obvious. As though David knows the rest of her sentence, missing an E, he takes the next line. Maybe David reading her thoughts finishes for her or something like that. But, well, he takes the next line, so he's not finishing her thought. He knows what she's thinking, and he's adding to it. I don't know how more concisely or precisely to say that. Maybe just even cut all of this out. If only, I know, but it doesn't matter anymore. So maybe we don't even need that right there. Are you sure about this? Sure about finding me? Or that we'll all have it back? It's a little bit mysterious. In his embrace, stretches his hand out in front of her, signaling her to take his hand. He's embracing her. He stretches out his hand in front of her, signaling her to take it. So he's cradling her in his arms. Takes it. Just try and stop me. Their wedding rings in full display. All right, I get this. Again, maybe this could be written a lot more concisely. Detective. All right, is sat by a gravestone. Sits by a gravestone. He holds a cigarette he just started in one hand or something like that. This is a little bit wordy for me, looking like it has barely received more than one inhale. Oh, Richard. Okay, so this is... All right, I thought it was going to be something with Holly. All right, his father is dead. Looks as though he were stuck in a daydream. The beep of a radio, maybe capitalize that. The sound of a voice. All you need to see is if this is the radio in his car or is it like his comm unit, his like portable radio. In that case, a radio beeps, period. and then we hear a voice on radio, voiceover, or something like this. We don't need to say followed by the sound of a voice. Sorry, I keep saying we. I apologize. Vince, you there? All right, we know his name. Into radio. Pulls up the radio and keys it. Maybe that's a good way to get rid of not having to have this right here. He takes out his radio and keys it, meaning he presses the key. It's on. Need a apostrophe there. It's on. They need us there in 10. Coming dear. I guess maybe we need to know if this is a male or a female voice on the radio. I would say female voice, male voice, or if the person has a name, you could put the name in there. We assume I'm assuming it's a woman, but that could just be said sarcastically here. I don't know what the point of he dropping it from sight is. He clicks it off and looks at his father's grave. He clicks it off, looks at his father's grave, and stamps out his cigarette. Boom. Later's dad. All right, we know it's his dad. We know his name's Vincent, so we've learned something in this scene. We know he's a policeman. We know he's on a job. Again, could probably be tightened up a little. I'm always a big fan, unless it's like a super action-y cut of always ending a scene with some direction, some action to give the actor. You know, he stands and, he dropped. Wait a minute. He dropped and stamped out his cigarette. Oh, he dropped the cigarette and stamped it out. Okay. All right. Okay, here's Vincent stands by a closed door in a stairwell. Maybe. He watches it. This makes it sound like he's watching the cigarette with a scowl. We assume maybe he's watching the stairwell, because I don't think he'd be watching the closed door, but he could be. A distinguishable beep, as opposed to an indistinguishable beep or just a beep. I don't know if it has to be distinguishable. I would capitalize beep. Comes some visit person. He reaches in inside pocket to pick it up. Sorry for laughing. He picks up the beep. That's what it makes it. That's how it reads. A beep comes from a beep, period. Vincent reaches into his pocket and pulls out whatever. His radio. We don't know what he's pulling out. So this again, this can't just say radio. That needs to say female voiceover or male voiceover or something, unless it's a mystery to him who it is, which doesn't seem likely. I don't know if he would just answer, or does he have to wait for that? Where are you? I think you would say, what's your 20 or something, wouldn't you, if you were doing it? I don't know if that jargon is the same everywhere. That doesn't sound very official, though. So the radio person does not know where he is, which may or may not be. I told you he'd bolt. I don't quite get the logic of how he knows, based on the radio saying, where are you? I told you he'd bolt. Can he just say he's coming at you? He's headed your way or something. He's headed your way, Roger. I mean, again, I think this is too much dialogue. Holsters radio. From sight, I don't think that matters. And so, sorry, he got it from an inside pocket, and now he's holstering it. So that's a little confusing to me. His eyes, I would just say his eyes fix on the door. Is flung. The door flings open. The door flies open. The door crashes open. Is flung, again, passive. All right, C should not be, I don't know why that's apostrophe there. Possessive. Flicking his cigarette straight into his face. Obviously, he's flicking it violently. I don't know, how many ways can you flick something? If you picture yourself flicking, I'm flicking right now, it's hard to do it weakly or strongly. And the fact that he would flick it in his face seems a little under... I don't know that a police would do that unless he knows the guy and he's not afraid of him. She's in... This kind of feels like it's a novel. Written in a novel, wafts his hands in a frenzy. So in other words, he's trying to wave the cigarette away whilst... I would use less commas and more just sentences. You don't need to say whilst, I don't think. Vincent dashes in. Vincent, I mean, he's not that far away from the guy. I assume he could step up and just slug him in the stomach. When you think, and the reason for all this, sorry, a slight tangent, as I discovered while making a movie and being on the sets of a few movies, low budget, whatever, it doesn't matter. How you write it may be important when the reader reads it, maybe, but when you get on a set, whether someone dashes into the room, races into the room, runs into the room, and all of this, a sharp winding blow, I mean, all we need to know is he punches him in the stomach or he slugs him or I mean, we might want to know in what degree, how hard he's hitting him, but probably the less adjectives and adverbs and all that fancy parts of speech you use, the better. That is my experience. All right. Seems ready to fall. Braces him upright and punches him again. So he gave him a sharp winding blow to his stomach and then another savage punch to his face. So this is good. It just feels like it could be a lot quicker. Gives from underneath. The suspect's weight. All you have to say is the suspect collapses to the floor or on the floor. This is, again, in my opinion, overwritten. Watches him writhing. We know he's on the floor, so he could watch him writhe, but we don't need this. He's disgusted. Howls in pain. You already caught me. What the hell's wrong with you? I think he could even just say, you already caught me. What the hell's wrong with you? Because that would give us some insight into Vincent, even though we've kind of seen it. So he gets calmed down. The radio, again, change that to show male or female. Vincent pulls out a pair of handcuffs and slaps them on the suspect because apprehending, he's already apprehended him. So this could be cut down. If you think I'm not reporting that, you're mistaken, cop. Not reporting the excessive force we assume. This feels like an odd sentence, an odd line of dialogue. Vincent stands his object up and talks directly over his ear. Okay, into his ear. I assume he's sort of whispering. You've done a good job explaining that showing he's not a nice cop. So I would cut this out and start right here. It means nothing to me. It means nothing to me to drop your worthless ass down these stairs. So he's at the head of a stair. I like this, the intent of this. It just feels like it needs a little tightening and a little oomph to it. Okay, you wouldn't dare. Smirk. So he picks him up. The guy's laying down. He's picked him up and like got him on his feet. Baluster. So this could still be inside. They're at the top of a stairwell and okay. I think this is obvious right here. I would again capitalize suspect because he is a character. I mean, you could give him a name. The doorwell, okay. His partner. All right, so is Craig the guy on the radio? We're going to know when he talks probably, but it would be nice to know before. At least it was a man or a woman. If it is, maybe it's not. He appears with a look of shock. Vincent's partner, Craig, late 30s, stands looking in shock or something. Just, again, you could get rid of that orphan word line, which is, again, it kind of sounds like a little nothing thing, but orphan words are the bane of my existence. So what the hell are you doing? So what the hell are you doing? And then what the hell are you doing? Maybe he could have something a little more original or something that they, I don't know, say to each other something. Turns his head back to the suspect. I would maybe just say Vincent glances at the suspect. Saved by the bell. All right. This needs a apostrophe. So that they're at the warehouse, and that was daytime, right? Yep. Okay. Vincent and Craig watch the suspect taken around a near corner, escorted by two escorting policemen. So Vincent and Craig watch two policemen escort the subject around the corner, I guess. So if they're taking him around the corner, they haven't gotten to the corner yet because the suspect is going to look back at Vincent. So this maybe needs a little consideration. Sight with a sneer. So we assume that Vincent is sneering, but again, this is constructed almost to look like the suspect is sneering. I guess you can't keep doing this. Oh. He's sorry about your mom, I guess. So he may be or may be not sorry about his mom. This needs some punctuation. And then what the hell was that? And we know his name's Vince, and we know Craig's mad at him, so I would just cut all that out. You've got to get this under control. But you can't keep doing this. I mean, really, this right here is the crux of what he's saying. Maybe we can mention the mom and the dad, but I mean, the rest of this is implied. Fob him off. I'm not familiar with fob used in that, but I imagine kind of brush him off. Get over it, everything's fine. I mean, if he's brushing him off and walking away, that visually implies what he says right here. Get over it, everything's fine. So maybe he just says everything's fine. I don't think all of that's needed. What do you think? I want to be covering you all the time. I could already see the bruises you laid on that guy. I could already see the bruises. I could already see the bruises you laid on that guy. I'm not sure what that means. Concurrent viewers down to 2 people. Oh, no. I just looked over at my analytics. Audience cut in half. This It seems like it needs to be said shorter. I'm just going to read and not try to nitpick here for about 3 or 4 pages. Already feels betrayed. That's hard to convey. They say each other's names a lot, which is not typical. I would leave their names out of the conversation. This kind of is a editorial business that is not really visually expressive. Maybe it is, but I don't know that it's necessary. Is he moping about half of the time, or is he moping about half the time? Maybe a little stronger way of saying that. Craig doesn't have to go silent because he's not talking. This is kind of on the nose to me. Maybe all he needs to say is, I'll cover you. I've got your back one more time, period. Don't ever mention Sally again. Because a lot of what he's saying here, we already know, we understand. Full police uniform as opposed to, I don't know what. Okay. Marches through. Marches past, maybe? So Nigel is walking. Oh, all right. Yeah, sorry. Is Greg in need of a sat nav? I'm not sure what that is. That might be a British or UK or non-American thing. Satellite navigation, that's what it sounds like. This is punctuation on here needs a little bit attending to. Looks back toward Vincent, unimpressed by his cold remark, but keeps it to himself. This is a novel sentence right here, as in appearing in a novel. So I don't know visually how you would have the actor get that across. So Vincent doesn't remember that he put in for annual leave. What? He'll put it back on as in he's going to take his time off the calendar? This is confusing. I get it, I think, but it's confusing. Tries to shake his head. He tries to shake his head, but something prevents him. So I don't even know if that's necessary, sir. I can't, okay? I can't, okay? Let me do my job for now. For now? Studies Finn's sincerity at last. All right. Smith's case. We don't know what Smith's case is. It's not the one he was just on, I assume. Recent experimental drug that surfaced. Wow, that is a lot of stuff for one sentence. I guess if it was a procedural on TV, that would be something you would normally come across. But this, I mean, inciting incident catalyst on page 10, I understand that. But I just realized, oh no, never mind. This just feels like it's too on the nose, and it could be delivered either in a series of short statements or with some Q&A or something. A chemist gone rogue hitting the black market. Snorts bemusement. Elevates his tone. Does that mean he gets louder or he gets angrier? Level of discretion bothered me. The call came from a friend of mine. This stuff scares the hell out of him. Level of discretion. So the guy who called him wanted him to keep it discreet. And this stuff, meaning the experimental drug, or the fact that the guy called him and asked him to take discretion? Again, I'm a little confused. What is it? The file will be on your desk tomorrow. I just want you to ask him a few questions. What is it? Is he talking about what is the drug? The stuff? What is the stuff? What is the stuff? I don't know. A file will be on your desk tomorrow morning. I just want you to ask him a few questions. Ask not the call from the friend of mine, but the Dr. Bishop, okay? What is a spike from earlier? Pull away from the warehouse. Is he driving or is he in a police car? The suspect. Just talk to the guy, Vince. That's all. Need a apostrophe there. Nigel calls for Vincent's attention for him to give him a direct look. That maybe just Nigel says, hey, Vincent keeps walking. And then maybe Nigel takes a step after him. That's all, you follow? Yes, sir. And maybe he could even turn around and deliver that line to him, like in a clipped way. Or he doesn't turn back and he just keeps walking. Nigel thinks that he's gotten through to Vincent, and Vincent smiles to himself. But either way, this line, or this thing is confusing right there. So I'm on page 11. It's been about 50 minutes. I think I'm going to read some more of this, but I don't think I'm going to read it live because it's obvious that even though I said I was going to try to bulldoze through it, I'm just not quite getting it because of some of the little grammar things and just the confusion that's caused by the way it's written. Again, kind of more like a novel than a screenplay in parts. And the passive voice, which, I mean, doesn't hurt it per se, but just makes it feel less screenplay-ishly. So, yeah, I think I'm just going to stop reading this. I told someone else that this Countdown 6 is another one I'm reading, but it's not one that I was going to read. Oopsie. Well, hang on a minute. Let me see if I can find it. Welcome to my desktop. Well, all right, I think I can't find it right off, so I think I'm just going to pull the plug on this. And all right, so I'm on page 12. I'll try to read some more of that and try to go through it. But I don't know, I hope this was helpful. It's obviously more kind of a workshop thing than how much I like your script. I think I don't really see where it's going, but I mean, it seems interesting. Inertia, I still like the title. Ironically, it feels like it's maybe lacking inertia, that things are happening too slowly, that it could get going a little quicker. I see the inciting incident or the catalyst on page 10, but maybe more could have happened by now. Or maybe it could just be written in a more slim and trim fashion. The dialogue, I think, could be cut back a little bit. We know this guy is kind of a jerk cop. He's got some problems. His father's dead. We know something about his mother. We know about the doctor and his wife. We've seen her get killed. It was just, it felt a little awkwardly written. Maybe could take a little TLC. So Dan, if you see this, I would, and you want me to keep reading or whatever, just let me know. I may keep reading anyways. But for now, I will say thank you to the 3 concurrent viewers who are here right now. I don't see anything in the live chat, meaning either no one's saying anything, which is fine, or for some reason I can't see what's being written on the chat. Hope this is helpful. I've got 2 more scripts right now in the queue for this. And my plan is pretty much just once a week about this time. Any comments, good or bad, I may or may not read. As writers, we know how we do not like criticism. And thanks to Dan and to future and past people for letting me read your script and giving me your permission to do this, because I know all of our scripts are our little babies, and man, it's no fun when people go through your little baby and nitpick all this stuff. But again, unless the story is just so compelling, it's just going to slow down the read. And I don't think that's just me. I think that's in general people reading the script. So I appreciate it. Hope you got something out of it. And I will see you in the future. In the meantime,